Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst. I'm Reverend Michelle Buhite, the minister of this congregation. My pronouns, which I offer to create a truly inclusive and brave space for all to live into the fullness of their identities, are she and her. Today is our first service back to in-person worship since March 2020. We will continue to offer online worship, whether that means recorded or live streamed. This is a time of some anxiety and incredible opportunity, and it is my hope that each of you will find the best way for you to be in relationship with this beloved community.
My name is Angela Warren, UU Amherst Director of Faith Development. My pronouns, which I offer to create a truly inclusive and brave space for all to live into the fullness of their identities, are she and her. We begin our time together by lighting the chalice. The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of our commitment to bring more justice and compassion to a hurting world. Our chalice lighting words today come from my friend, the Reverend Joe Cherry. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, as a people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving. It's been said that Unitarian Universalism is the religion that puts its faith in you, trusting each individual to engage in the spiritual journey and to reach our own conclusions about spiritual matters. We do that in beloved community as we support one another in faith and in friendship. In that spirit, this congregation has created a covenant, a sacred promise of how we will strive to be with one another. Please join me in speaking our covenant. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. As we gather, we acknowledge that our church is built on occupied land that once belonged to the First Nations people of this region, the Haudenosaunee. Today, we also extend gratitude to all of the water protectors in Minnesota who are protesting the continuation of the Line 3 pipeline through the state. We say Niawe, thank you in the Seneca language, to those arrested in the name of climate justice, and to all the organizations and individuals who are putting their bodies on the line for the healthy continuation of life on the beautiful blue boat we call Earth.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat thanks to the waves upholding me. Hail the great winds urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me. Sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms. Never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Today's service is the first in a series that I'm calling The Big Comeback. After 16 months apart, it feels momentous to be able to gather in person again. In the course of our conversations together, our Director of Faith Development, Angela, and I realized that it was essential that we come back with some intention. When we closed our doors due to the pandemic in March of 2020, it was abrupt. One day we were fully open, the next we were not. Projects were postponed. Words were left unsaid. Our energy was then redirected to activate the Village's network and learn how to do online worship. We purchased Zoom accounts for meetings and gatherings and guided one another through the intricacies of bringing our beloved community online. Although it may have felt like church was on hold for these many months, in truth, like the slow-growing mosses that Angela reminded us of last week, our church was discovering new pathways of growth and vitality. New leaders emerged as others discovered other priorities and stepped away. We created new levels of intimacy and care, even as we were limited to seeing one another via our computer screens as we sheltered in place in our homes. We reached out with phone calls and personal notes and cards in place of the hand on a shoulder or hug that was so normal and easy in the time before. Much has been transformed in these months apart, and it can feel a bit like Rip Van Winkle's return after a 20-year nap, with everything changed, and even the familiar feeling not so familiar. And so our big comeback is a mindful re-entry, a returning. We have been changed.
How is your summer reading going? Are you going with the flow? Well, science fiction usually isn't my bag, but with the encouragement of both Reverend Michelle and Adrienne Marie Brown, author of Emergent Strategy, I finally took the opportunity to read Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower while I was away last month. Within this dystopian masterpiece, the religion of the main character, Lauren Oya Olamina, emerges through the subtext of Earthseed, the books of the living. The main premise may sound familiar, as it has been woven into writings and Sunday services here at UU Amherst. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. Interesting that the night before I picked up Emergent Strategy, I was musing in my own journal about how everyone is everyone's teacher. Brown agrees. This is the main premise of her organizing. This truth is not for humans alone. We can also learn from the changes and emergence of our non-human friends, both flora and fauna. We observe and take part in this constant flow of change, this God of change. Then the flow took me back to the paper written for the New England region of the Unitarian Universalist Association in 2017 by Kimberly Sweeney called The Death of Sunday School. This sounds scary, but death is scary when you aren't willing to prepare for it. From Sweeney's summary, quote, paying attention to the shifting needs of our families and children, releasing ourselves from the structures of our past, and boldly experimenting to contribute to the evolution of faith formation may just be the spiritual task of our time. And this, quote, in our UU tradition, bridging out of the youth ministry program essentially meant bridging out of church. Aren't we always asking ourselves, where are the young people? Yet, we have not cultivated the community in a whole way. The young and old have been separated for far too long. Reverend Michelle has been encouraging this congregation to find out our why. This returning provides us with the opportunity for change, where we truly foster and cultivate compassion for one another and for the wider community. This is why social justice, food justice, environmental and racial justice must be our why. The work of the church as a whole is to be the framework where justice nestles. Otherwise, what for? We are here, in this place, not just to observe, but to be immersed and to engage and enrich one another so that we can become the makers of good trouble. Let's get back to our countercultural roots. As we return to church this month, and we teach each other for real and in person, we have the opportunity to embrace change as we embrace one another. We can embrace our place on earth at UU Amherst. We open ourselves to change. We grow with change. We are a people that can embrace this growth, heal together, and teach one another. All of us, the young and the old, can become a welcoming space, a church that welcomes radically and includes everyone.
into a time of reflection, to listen for that still small voice, however you name that. Today we lift up especially those in our community who need our love and support. Spirit of life and love, we recognize that we often fall short of our lofty aspiration to love and to risk our hearts. We seek wholeness. May we forgive ourselves and others for withholding love, forgetting that the source of love is endless. May we open our arms wide and gather in those who need our love and support, those who are ill, those who are in pain either in body or in spirit, those who are lonely, those who have been wronged. We weep with those who weep, and we rejoice with those who rejoice. May we be kind and compassionate. May we be strong and committed as we rise in solidarity with those who experience oppression and hopelessness. Create in us a hunger for justice. Sustain us in our journey toward wholeness and equity. We are grateful for the lavish abundance in our lives. May we share generously, love recklessly, and notice the spark of divinity in each one we meet. May we be the willing servants of love. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. When I first read Octavia Butler's The Parable of the Sower in 2017, it felt a little like a homecoming. I had never had the language to express my love, no, my need for change, and how the smallest changes, rearranging a room, learning a new song, upending my theological grocery cart, could reset my inner fuse box. Change can be energizing, exhilarating, and exhausting. 16 months ago, we were plunged into change. The past 13 months have been nothing but change for my family. Change can be exhausting. Caretaking, death, birth, separation, the loss of employment or its insecurity, and of course, the big elephant in the room, the fear of an invisible and apparently invincible virus. Change is hard. It can be unbearably lonely, as self-transformation is most often a solitary journey. American folk singer Woody Guthrie sang, "You gotta walk that lonesome valley. You gotta walk it by yourself. Nobody here can walk it for you. You gotta walk it by yourself." Guthrie's adaptation of the African-American spiritual Jesus Walked That Lonesome Valley made Jesus' solitary journey of pain and betrayal relatable to everyone, regardless of religious affiliation. We've all walked that lonesome valley. No one is spared the journey of loss and grief. Change is often illustrated by the transformation of the phoenix or the butterfly. The before and after images work for us. Something that appears one way is transformed into something else. It's the middle part that is a bit worrying. The legendary phoenix bursts into flames to be reborn in the ashes, and the caterpillar completely dissolves into goo before emerging as a butterfly. Change can often feel like that middle part, incinerated by flames or melted into something we don't recognize as ourselves. Change is hard. And we know that change is necessary, even when it is hard. We may have to walk a lonesome valley, but we need not walk it alone. I turn to Hinduism to bring to you Akhilanda Svari Ma, or simply Akhilanda, the goddess of never not broken. Akhilanda is depicted like many helping deities in the Hindu pantheon, with multiple arms and hands. She rides a crocodile along a rushing river, allowing herself to be swept along by circumstances. As one of the oldest depictions of the Mother Goddess, her power comes from being pulled apart and coming back together again. She is always broken, so she can never be broken. Aquilanda represents where we are broken, our pieces instead of our whole. The crocodile is our fears, our vulnerabilities. She teaches us that our power is in our pain and that we have the strength and ability to pull ourselves back together again and again after breaking. We recreate and rebuild ourselves over and over into who we wish to be. Aquilanda is there to help us transition from one place to another after we are hurt, when we feel sadness, when we have suffered loss. She assists us to grow, to transform, to heal and mend those broken bits and pieces. Just as she surrenders to the motion of the crocodile and the waters of the river, so we should surrender to whatever we are feeling, trusting that we will once again be whole. One of the things that makes change, especially huge, life-shattering change, survivable is the knowledge that we are not alone. During these months apart, we have tested the threads of the tapestry of beloved community that we have woven together and have found it to be strong and resilient. All that you touch, you change. Carting and laying bricks in a labyrinth, weeding and planting and tending, the ebb and flow of leadership, the rise and fall of programs and big plans, noticing and sharing facilities issues and responding to that information, dealing with torrential rain, pumps, and flooded classrooms, inspiring us to give freely of our time, talent, and treasure, not until it hurts, but until it does good. Stocking, restocking, and endlessly restocking again to keep our little free pantry ministry vital, changing the lives of those who depend upon the food and other goods that others have so generously provided. Writing and submitting grants for funds to live more fully into our vision. Writing cards, making phone calls, and generally checking in with each other, understanding that for too many, the isolation could be devastating. Delivering craft kits and laughing together as we created while we waited to be together again. I know I've left out so much, so many ways you touched and changed people and circumstances, and how you were changed in the process. Even if I'm not very good at listing the fullness, know that I see you. I'm grateful for your compassion and courage, your creativity and care. Everything you touch, you change. Everything you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. At the human level, that is a little anxiety-producing. Don't we all fantasize about fixing something once and for all, done and dusted? But there is no such thing. Variants arise and disrupt our best-laid plans. The universe is nothing but change. Even planets that have a seemingly predictable orbit wobble, so we create leap years and other corrective measures, unable to limit the change itself, but ready to believe we have somehow subdued that which we cannot manage. Stars are born and wink out. Wildfires out west bring hazy weather to the east. Species are discovered and lost. Too often the result of the changes humankind has created by our actions or inaction. The only lasting truth is change. Thank goodness. One of the most grace-filled phrases is, "This too shall pass." In the midst of pain, this too shall pass. The bittersweet reality is that it also applies to moments of joy and wonder. No matter how many photographs we take, we cannot arrest the moment. It's true that as we age, change seems to accelerate. How often do you find yourself driving through a once familiar setting to discover businesses have gone, buildings have been torn down, green spaces sold for development, and found yourself saying aloud, "Can't they leave anything alone?" Me too. Change is the rushing river and the crocodile, and change is Aquilanda, the goddess of never not broken, reminding us that we are constantly broken and mended, that we have the power within ourselves and among the gathered community to knit together that which has been torn asunder. We are never not broken, so we can always be healed. Although there is much to be learned by a solo journey to the Lonesome Valley, our lives are held in the circle of mutuality of beloved community. Let me share with you a reading by Unitarian Universalist minister Teresa Soto. I wish the knowledge were easier to come by, that individualism is just a scam, that you are always the butterfly wings, you are always the storm. Edward Lorenz, a weather scientist from MIT, is sometimes misquoted on this as the premise that the flap of a butterfly wing can cause a hurricane in a different part of the world. Shorthand that isn't all that close to a representation of the math-turned-weather scientist's work. He proposed that should we make even a tiny alteration to nature, we will never know what would have happened if we had not disturbed it, since subsequent changes are too complex and entangled to restore a previous state. Which is to say that you have an immeasurable effect on the system. It will change, and you will shape its DNA. You must not believe the lying lie that you do not matter, that whatever change you can organize is so insufficient as to not be worth your time, your energy, your life force. You must be willing to dream a dream that carries forward your community. This is how we rise. This day is polluted with a mistrust of truth, fertile and warm medium for unchecked cruelty and power. You must choose to scream the truth until every leaf and stone bears unrepentant witness to what happens when you try to cage and smash, to pin and frame a butterfly and their thousands and thousands of fabulous, flamboyant friends. As you can tell, Reverend Teresa, whose pronouns are they and them, has a passion for truth-telling and a passion for justice of all descriptions. They understand the truth of intersectionality and the insidious division that too easily arises among us when we attempt to create a hierarchy of justices. Our big comeback is more than a big extended family reunion. It is an opportunity to return. As our Director of Faith Development, Angela, so eloquently said, this returning provides us with the opportunity for change, where we truly foster and cultivate compassion for one another and for the wider community. This is why social justice, food justice, environmental and racial justice must be our why. The work of the church as a whole is to be the framework where justice nestles. Otherwise, what for? We are here in this place not to just observe, but to be immersed and to engage and enrich one another so that we can become the makers of good trouble. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. This last part is definitely my favorite. God is change. Maybe you were brought up like I was, with the idea that God is immutable, the same yesterday, today, and forever. I think that was supposed to be comforting, but as a person that adores change, it just made me feel like an alien being, and like God and I didn't have much in common. The process theologians of the early 20th century recognized that God was anything but immutable. Henry Nelson Wyman described God as creative interchange, with humanity being co-creators with God. Creative interchange is a process, not a being. As David Lee Miller wrote in his 1986 paper, The Experience of Creative Interchange, and I quote, "Creative interchange is experience, the kind of experience that transforms us in ways in which we cannot transform ourselves. According to Wyman, creative interchange is the experience of spontaneous human-heartedness and human thoughtfulness that opens us to an increasingly widened and deepened appreciation and understanding of ourselves as individual persons and to all other persons everywhere on earth." End of quote. I find that exciting in so many ways. This understanding of creative interchange is an antidote for the rampant individualism that is undermining humanity's potential for good on this planet. It also directs human-heartedness and human thoughtfulness to all other persons everywhere on earth. Persons, not people. This includes all of the non-human persons, echoing the wisdom from Robin Wall Kimmerer that Reverend Renee shared so eloquently with us last week. God is change. The creative interchange that we experience and participate in is God. Okay, are you ready to make the next leap with me? Hang on to your hats. If God is a process of creative interchange, the experience of spontaneous human-heartedness and human thoughtfulness that opens us to an increasingly widened and deepened appreciation and understanding of ourselves as individual persons and to all other persons everywhere on earth, then we are co-creators with an emergent process. God is the emerging culmination of our aspiring process for transformation. All that we touch, we change. All that we change changes us. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. We participate in God through our creative interchange, giving and receiving, initiating and engaging. That is the enduring truth of our faith. That is the manifestation of our faith as we live and love and work side by side, bringing more light and hope, more compassion and justice to a hurting world. That is the essence of the tapestry we have woven together, and it is our call to action as we move through times of uncertainty and division. This is our big why we exist, why the world needs our message, and why we are ready to continue changing and growing and becoming. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
Give a little bit of your love to me. I'll give a little bit. I'll give a little bit of my love to you. There's so much that we need to share, so send a smile and show you care. I'll give a little bit. I'll give a little bit of my life for you. So give a little bit. Give a little bit life for me. See the one with the lonely eyes, who take their hand, you'll be surprised. Give a little bit of your love to me. Give a little bit, I'll give a little bit of my life for you. Now's the time that we need to share, so find yourself, we're on our way back home. What a long ride, come a long way. Oh, sing it tonight.
Thank you for joining us in worship today. I hope you have been inspired and uplifted by sharing this time together. Please see the credits at the end of this service for information about the music and other worship elements. And do take a moment to visit our website, uamherst.org, and click on the giving link. Or text your gift to 833-987-1968.
We extinguish our chalice with these familiar words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our closing blessing today comes from Lauren Bellamy. If here you have found freedom, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have dreamed dreams, help one another that they may come true. If you have known love, give some back to a bruised and hurting world. Go in peace.